The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
This is what you can look forward to on this fun-filled episode 237 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
But I did everything I could to submerge myself into being Darth Vader for people and not being Darth Vader for me. That's when I played Asteroids there with Steven Spielberg. When the end credits rolled, the executives jumped up and they were screaming and clapping. And he said, Bill looked at George, and George was crying. And the Lucasfilm people said, don't do that again. That was interesting because they tried to do something sneaky. But I said, is Darth Vader Luke's father? I hope that I've brought many fond memories to people and that I was a positive influence in as many people's lives as possible.
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland!
Here we go!
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets lab.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! Hey, so you want to take another trip back into the early days of Star Wars fandom? Then you've come to the right place, and we want to welcome you to Skywalking Through Neverland. We are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, and nostalgic fandom. I am Richard Wolosky, your tour guide through fandom, but everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah.
Hey, Skywalkers. And you know what? We want to give you guys a big Wookiee hug. To our family of Skywalkers, we want to thank you for listening to the show every week. And we just love it when you share our joy in this adventure through fandom. And we want to also give a big shout out to all the face huggers who are watching us live on Facebook right now. There's quite a few of you. I guess we hit a sweet spot in the day.
Minnie, remember this time for later on, okay?
Okay.
Now, we are recording this from Long Beach, California on January the 30th. We're almost 1/12 done with this year.
What? No, actually,
math.
for me, it's like, we're 1 month less away from Star Wars Celebration, is how I think of that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how quickly this year's flying by.
I know.
We're already 30 days into this year.
I know, January seems kind of like a moratorium. It's like the like...
What does that mean?
No, I mean...
January is an awesome month for awesome birthdays.
I like it.
See, now we're all set. Now we want to see if Minnie Mouse is all set by telling us the time.
It's 11:19.
Oh my goodness, she giggled!
Well,
what is happening?
Thank you, Minnie. That's a new one.
Yeah, she's never giggled before.
Hey, Jeff just wished me a happy birthday. See, all month long these birthday greetings come in.
Yes.
That's why January is a very, very busy month.
Yeah, you're going to get a big birthday present with your office.
The house construction continues. But do you know what else also continues?
What?
Our conversation with Bryce Eller.
Woohoo!
Now, last week we spoke with Bryce about his live appearances as Darth Vader going from 1977 to 1982, and he shared some amazing stories as he interacted with kids and stuff that you won't really hear anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Especially about how to maintain his costume, too.
Yeah, and that, too.
That was awesome.
But now, this week, we're going to pick up our conversation with Bryce as he tells us all about his Darth Vader TV appearances and putting his footprints at the Grauman's Chinese Theater and the iconic poster that hung in every child's bedroom Right behind us is all the face huggers we'll see. That's Bryce Eller in his iconic Darth Vader pose with his hands flared out and his lightsaber and the cape all windblown. How did they get that effect? We will soon find out.
I love it. You have photos of your old room, and I actually recently found photos of my old room. So your old room was an homage to lots of Star Wars and Darth Vader. Mine is an homage to lots of Star Wars and Han Solo. Because I have a big Han Solo picture.
Which means we have to get Harrison Ford up on the show.
Yes, and he has to sign that picture. That would be amazing.
All right, there's a goal. There's a goal. And you know what? If the face huggers, if you can see where I'm pointing to on Darth Vader, that's where he signed it. That's where he signed it right there. It says, "Happy 50th birthday, Richard."
Woo.
Good to see you again. Because as you recall, last time when we spoke with Bryce, I read the story about how I saw him at the Bradley's department store back on May the 11th, 1978.
Yeah. That was awesome. And we will see him again next month, I think, right?
Yeah. Now we're all best buds. We're going to be hanging out with he and Craig Miller at the Magic Castle.
That'll be fun. Yay.
All right, Sarah, what else do we have coming up on this episode?
We also have shout outs and things we want to share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
Okay, there's so much cool stuff happening right now, including a new Galaxy's Edge comic book series. So StarWars.com just announced that there's going to be an actual comic mini-series about Galaxy's Edge entitled, get this, Richard, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Now, what's that about?
It's about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Okay, I got you. Hits you right there, right between the eyes.
All right. And it's written by Ethan Sachs and illustrated by Will Sliney. And it's a 5-issue miniseries which will be set at the Black Spire Outpost on Batuu. And it will involve the black market and an Ithorian.
I am there. I am so there.
Oh, it's an Ithorian.
I would say that the Ithorians are my favorite Cantina creatures.
I think they definitely are, considering like you always get like Twitter pated when you see one. So Ithorians are, of course, the hammerhead alien.
Yeah. I get starstruck when I see an Ithorian. Yeah, Hugh Jackman could have walked by, Tom Cruise, meh. But an Ithorian, I'm all like, I get all flustered.
Yes. So, of course, this series is tying into what will be Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland and Walt Disney World, and it's coming out in April. So, but let's hear more about this. The Ithorian actually has a name, and his name is Dok-Ondar.
That's a perfect Star Wars name. There's no apostrophes. There's no 15 consonants in a row.
Right. So it's pretty easy to say, right?
Yeah. So it's a good thing that Timothy Zahn isn't writing the backstory about Galaxy's Edge, because every character would have 15 consonants in a row, separated by 3 or 4 apostrophes. Not that I love Timothy Zahn, but sometimes his names are hard to pronounce.
And didn't we ask him how to pronounce?
Yes. All the names? We cornered him at the last celebration.
Salamari.
All right, pronounce everything.
Yeah. All right. So, Dok-Ondar is a collector of rare antiquities.
I am so there. This already excites me. He's like the Indiana Jones of Ithorians. Oh, tell me more.
Okay. So Ethan Sachs, who is the writer of this series, had this to say on StarWars.com, and I'm going to read his quote because it's really interesting. Our series will give fans the chance to visit Black Spire Outpost months ahead of voyaging to Batuu in person. Armed with top-secret sketches and information from Walt Disney Imagineering and Lucasfilm, we are keeping this authentic to the spirit of this rich new setting. I tell you more, but I already have the death sentence on 12 systems. Oh.
Well, you'll make it one more system, the Long Beach system, so tell us more.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I did some research on Dok-Ondar, because knowing that you love Ithorians, Richard. So he will be a character who will appear in both Galaxy's Edge theme parks as an animatronic that the cast members will interact with. So this was actually announced when we were at D23 Expo.
Yeah.
So
we
we
saw
saw
the bust.
pictures. Yeah.
We saw the actual bust.
Yeah, we did, because it was on display.
The animatronic bust.
So cool. And Doc Ondar was also mentioned in Solo, A Star Wars Story, if you listened. So right when Kira and Han kind of re-meet on Dryden Voss's ship in that situation, they're talking, but then a serving woman named Ottilie interrupts them and offers them drinks, and Kira asks her,
Thank you, Ottilie. Have you been attentive to Doc Ondar?
Very.
So it's mentioned. So apparently he's in that room, or at least like docked on that ship.
So you got to wonder what came 1st. Did the writers of Galaxy's Edge go, "Hey, there's a name right there. Let's pluck from that," or did Pablo Hidalgo say to the Kazdans, "Hey, there's a name here. We want you to use this somewhere in Solo"?
I'm thinking that they wanted to use it somewhere in Solo, because in Solo it's more of an Easter egg, whereas in this comic series and Batuu itself, Doc Ondar was like part of the concept of this animatronic, in my opinion.
Right. So it could be either way, makes sense. But I'd like to think that they had a goal for this character when Kira mentions him.
Right. Okay. But then also in Solo, don't they mention Black Spire?
Yes.
They do. Okay.
Yes. But L337.
That's it.
When they're walking to the Millennium Falcon. And so, yes. Oh, yes. That's a good point. So they could be, I'm sure they are trying to tie in as much of Galaxy's Edge to whatever's coming out in Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for this comic series. It's 5 issues, so, it's completely consumable. And the first issue is scheduled, according to Wikipedia, which is the only place I found a date, it's scheduled for April 24th, 2019.
Okay, so 2 months beforehand.
Wait. Oh, right.
Before Galaxy's Edge.
June. Okay.
And I'm sure there's going to be lots of novels coming out.
Well, yeah, there are. In fact, I'm just seeing right now on StarWars.com, they announced 5 more books leading up to Galaxy's Edge.
They just announced this today?
Yeah, like just now as we're recording.
Boy, talk about timing.
I know. So 5 books? 5 publications? Like, I think Lucasfilm is really treating this like a major movie release.
Oh, they sure are, and they should, because they're putting more money into this than any film.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, do you want to hear what they're doing?
Oh, please.
Okay, so the first one is Del Rey is releasing Black Spire, and it's a novel which involves General Leia, who dispatches a top spy to Batuu to search for Resistance allies. And the book is written by Delilah Dawson, and it comes out on September 3rd. Now, what's interesting in this article, they're billing it as a prequel to the Disney Parks experience. So what I think this means is that it's a prequel to the attraction that's involving the First Order. So basically, if you go to that attraction and you've read this novel, you'll get more out of it, I think.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah. It's what they do. It's what they do with Rogue One.
Right.
Well, you had the Journey to the Force Awakens.
Right.
Which led up into Force Awakens.
Right. So, yeah, this is kind of like the journey to Batuu. All right. So the second publication is Disney Lucasfilm Press. They're releasing actually 2 novels. One is a young adult novel and one is a middle grade novel. So the young adult novel is called A Crash of Fate, and it's written by Zoraida Cordova. And it follows new characters and childhood friends Izzy and Jules. Now, from StarWars.com, this is what it says. Izzy's family abruptly left Batuu when she was 6. Now she's back, and Jules, the boy who never left, is unsure what to make of her. While on the run from vengeful smugglers and an angry pirate, the 2 friends will come to terms with who they are and what they mean to each other. Aww.
This almost sounds like Lost Stars.
Yeah, it kind of does. Like, you got the 2 friends, a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
They've been separated for a while. They come back together. I wonder how old they are. I'm assuming young adult or, teenagers, kind of. Yeah. It doesn't specifically say, but most young adult novels involve teenagers or, very, very young adults.
Boy, if Izzy went off to join the First Order and Jules stayed behind and maybe wanted to join the Resistance, like, all right, it's a little too close to Lost Stars.
I'm sure it won't be quite like that, but I am looking forward to it since traditionally now the young adult novels have been really good in the Star Wars galaxy.
Okay. And when does this come out?
It comes out August 6th, as well as this next novel, the middle grade novel. So this middle grade novel is called Star Wars Myths and Fables. Wow. Now, already that sounds exciting, doesn't it?
So I could see this being like a Star Wars textbook.
Right, like kind of like Harry Potter, how you have that book, the book that is the myths and the fables in the Harry Potter universe.
If this is a book you could find within a Star Wars middle school.
Oh, I know.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, so it's written by George Mann, and it will have illustrations, which are illustrated by Grant Griffin, and it contains space tales, fables, and myths from the Star Wars galaxy. And it's not just Galaxy's Edge. So only 2 of the stories will take place on Batuu, while others will take place on the edge of the Star Wars galaxy somewhere, but not necessarily on Batuu.
Do you know what the byline for this book is?
What?
Inception.
Oh, because Star Wars is a myth itself?
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
It's like an inception in an inception.
Nice. And this releases on August 6th. And on StarWars.com, there is an exclusive excerpt from this book. So you can read it. I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to do that right after we record this.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so those are the books. Now, the rest of these might be a little bit of a surprise. IDW Publishing is releasing a Galaxy's Edge kids comic this fall, which they've been doing a great job in releasing some really interesting artwork with these comics that are related to Star Wars. So I've heard good things about IDW Publishing. And then, okay, this next thing, Richard, this is going on my must-have list. It is the Galaxy's Edge Cookbook.
Oh. You know what? There's no end.
I love it. Okay, this is from Insight Editions, and it's coming this fall. There's no particular date, but according to this StarWars.com article, it will feature exotic cuisine created for the Disney parks that will be served in Galaxy's Edge, as well as recipes drawn from the entire Star Wars saga. So I'm excited.
How many recipes are there?
Well,
there's blue milk.
I know.
There's green milk.
Yeah.
There's that scrambled egg that Luke ate.
There's
a New Hope.
Ray's
There's root leaf.
No, Ray's
There's those
thing.
granola bars that Yoda stole.
Oh yeah, those. No, but there's Ray's little blow up
the Insta muffin.
Yes, that. There's that one.
Okay. You know what? Then you just proved me wrong. There are there are a lot of Star Wars recipes. And plus, I want to know what was going to be served on Cloud City.
Yeah. Oh.
Because there was a whole set table as the Empire was waiting for Han, Leia, and Chewbacca
to have a really awkward Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, that they could have led them. Lando could have led them into a prison cell anywhere, but the fact that there was a dining table, why waste all that?
That was really funny.
You know, there's gonna be some Ugnaughts serving up some something, and now we'll find out.
And now we'll find out. And how did Darth Vader eat it?
With a straw. I think Boba Fett had to mash up his food and fed it to him through a straw. I mean, that's why he's so angry. Like, I get to watch you guys eat. Thanks a lot.
Oh, also, Rey ate something in Maz Kanata's castle. Remember, it looked like half an apple with some green stuff coming out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a fruit.
Yeah. And then you go into the Clone Wars, and they're always eating.
That's true.
The Gorgon fruit.
Oh yeah, Melaroon. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
From Star Wars Rebels.
Plus, what was Mala cooking up on the holiday special? Bantha rump. Stir, whip, stir, whip, 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 stir. That should be the name of the book.
That sounds gross. No, I'm sorry. The name of the book is Galaxy's Edge Cookbook.
And the byline there is stir, whip, 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 stir.
Oh, boy.
Come on. If they don't have Bantha rump, we ain't buying it. Sorry.
All right.
And there'll be some harsh words for the publisher.
So anyway, I'm looking forward to many of these, but, well, okay, I think Galaxy's Edge Cookbook is one of my top ones.
All right. My favorite is the Star Wars Myths and Fables.
Yeah.
Stories within stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be so exciting.
And the illustrations, looking forward to those too.
I want to see crate dragons versus the Purgles. there's a battle that should be in there. You get a big desert-bound dragon versus space whales.
What does this have to do with? Oh, you mean the myths and the fables?
Myths and the fables, yes.
Okay, I'm still thinking of the cookbook. I'm like, how is this?
and then the loser gets to be cooked.
Ew.
You brought it on.
I did. That's what I was thinking.
And the winner gets to eat the loser, plus a nice side of bantha rump. Stir, whip, 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 stir.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
So there is so much coming up in 2019 just with Galaxy's Edge alone.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what else is coming up in 2019?
What?
The Academy Award ceremony.
That's right.
Cricket. I know, it's another award show. How much weight does this actually even bear anymore?
Yeah.
But, I just heard an interview today on Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast.
Okay.
And Dennis Muren, who's won 9 Oscars, he holds the record for having the most Oscars by a living person. 9 Oscars. And he says, yeah, I keep them in a drawer.
Oh.
Michael Giacchino was on the same episode, so you got to listen to this episode of Gilbert Gottfried's podcast. Michael Giacchino said, yeah, I keep mine in my closet. But with that, let's go through a couple of Disney highlights from the Oscars.
Okay. Either Marvel, Star Wars, or Disney kind of. Okay.
Yeah. And this is going to tie into next week's guest, where we're going to talk with Bruce Vilanch. Now, Bruce was a writer on the Oscars for, I think, about 14 years.
Yeah.
And he was also a writer on the Star Wars Holiday Special.
So, yeah, we talk with him, and it's a great discussion. We can't wait to share it with you guys.
Yeah, and he shares some very behind-the-curtain stories about the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, let's go over who is up for Best Picture. Most of these films I've never even heard of.
Okay.
Well, number 1, we have Black Panther.
Woohoo! Marvel movie got nominated.
Not going to win.
Well.
Nope. Black Klansman. Never heard of that one.
Okay.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay.
I heard of that one. The Favorite. Nope. Green Book. Nope. Roma. Nope. Haven't heard of that one either. A Star is Born. All right. Heard of that one. Vice.
Isn't this like the 3rd remake, A Star is Born? I think
you're right.
Yeah.
Last one was in the 70s with Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson.
Mm-hmm.
But out of all these films, which one have you heard of, Sarah?
Justin Smith says it's the 4th remake. Wow. All right. I have heard of Black Panther and Bohemian Rhapsody and A Star is Born. So 3.
Yeah, so 3.
3 of 8.
All right. It'd be awesome if Black Panther would win.
Yeah.
But for a comic book movie?
I doubt it.
Not at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Not at the Oscars. All right. Now, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, we have 2 stars of Star Wars.
Ooh, okay.
All right. Adam Driver is up for Black Klansman.
Wow.
I'm so happy. So happy he is being recognized.
Definitely.
By his peers, and I would love for him to win.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think he's going to, though. He's too new.
Okay.
If you're a small child,
right,
then maybe you'll, just for the novelty, they'll nominate you like Anna Paquin did for the piano.
Right. Didn't she win?
Yeah,
though?
she won. Yeah. And all these
she was
adults,
like the youngest.
You cut to all the adults in the audience going, "Yay, we're so happy!"
Yeah.
It's like you were born 6 years ago. What is this? I was on my 89th movie when you were just being born.
It's a Spike Lee movie apparently. Black Klansman.
Do these movies not play in wide release?
I and we're in LA too. You'd think we'd at least hear of some of these.
And Richard E. Grant, who is one of the upcoming stars of Star Wars Episode 9.
What does he play?
You know what? We don't know. But people were predicting he was going to be Thrawn. But he's already said in an interview that he's playing a new character.
Okay.
Well, he is up for Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Okay.
For not knowing this movie? I don't know. I'm sorry. Can you ever forgive me for not knowing this movie? Yeah.
Well, a lot of times my favorite category for the Academy Awards is the animated feature because these are movies.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jonathan Heil is saying that Roma is a Netflix original?
Oh.
All right. Now, wait a minute.
Well, now, hey, we can watch this.
Wait a minute.
That seems weird, though, huh?
The rules are changing
every
single year.
So it doesn't have to be in release in actual theaters to be nominated?
But you know what? Bird Box.
Yeah,
that was released very, very limited just so they could get Academy Award recognition for next year. So I'm guessing that's what they did with Roma.
Okay, Justin Smith is saying it's in Spanish, though. Roma. Oh, boy. Okay, Margaret says Roma was in very limited release.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. You guys are on it.
Yeah, thank you to the face huggers.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's my prediction for 2019. They'll start nominating YouTube shorts about kittens and puppies.
Alfonso Cuarón wrote and directed Roma, according to Jonathan.
Oh, okay.
So who's
Harry Potter?
Oh, he did. He directed the third?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, I know my movies.
Well,
okay.
Thank you once again, face huggers.
Yeah.
All
okay.
Right. So, animated feature now.
Animated, woohoo!
Now, most of these we've heard of.
Actually, Incredibles 2, yes.
We've heard of that one.
Isle of Dogs? No. Mirai? I think I barely heard of that, but I don't know what it's about. Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Mm-hmm.
And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
All right.
Okay.
Sarah, who do you think is going to win, and who do you want to win? That's two different questions there.
I mean, well, gosh, it's so hard. For me, it's between Ralph Breaks the Internet and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in terms of personal movies that I liked. However, I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is going to win and should win just for the animation breakthroughs that they did. Like they took animation to the next level, in my opinion, in this film, because it looks so realistic, but yet they added all these cool backgrounds, and there's like hand-drawn animation on top of CGI animation, and it's just incredible stuff. And when you're watching it, like, it doesn't take you out of the film, but you just realize what a difference this is to any other animated film you've ever seen before.
Right. Now, Jonathan Heil is saying that Isle of Dogs is a Wes Anderson stop-motion film.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
Okay.
Where is this playing?
I don't know.
See, now that sounds interesting. Why didn't they market this film this way?
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, so I really think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is going to win.
Okay.
And the next day, you'll see hundreds of layoffs at Disney.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I know 2 Disney films are going to lose to an animated Spider-Man film. Now,
but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse already won at the Golden Globes, and that's my personal favorite too.
Okay.
I think that's the first film I've seen in a long time where I actually cared what was going on in the movies. This was so new, so original on their take on filmmaking and the Spider-Man story that I was right there. And I think this is the most original film I've seen in so long. So on one side of the spectrum, you have Spider-Man. On the other side, you have the boring snooze fest called Aquaman, which was, I think, if there was a category for the most boring film of the decade, my vote would be for Aquaman. I couldn't wait for that movie to end.
Oh. Well, okay. Should we move on to the next category then?
Can I continue my rant on Aquaman?
You can. Go ahead.
Right, I'll do it later on. Okay.
Uh-oh. Lori loves Aquaman.
And then there was the good parts of Aquaman. like his costume. See?
Yes.
There's always a silver lining. And Jango Fett was in Aquaman.
Yeah. I loved actually the casting for Jango Fett for his mom and dad. So Nicole
Tamara
Kidman
Morrison
and Nicole Kidman.
Okay, there you go. Some silver linings. All right, now let's go on to original score, where we can say that Mary Poppins Returns has got a nomination here.
Indeed. Mark Shaman is nominated, as well as Ludwig Göransson for Black Panther. And so those are the 2 that we know of. And honestly, and this is going to sound really harsh, but I think that Mark Shaman for Mary Poppins Returns should not win. Because honestly, I think that was one of the weaker points in that entire film was the music, unfortunately.
I couldn't even...
Oh, no!
Boop, phone rang.
Go ahead.
That was Mark Shaman calling, going,
Yeah.
Seriously? Really? What did you just say? Sorry, I'm not one of the Sherman brothers. I apologize. Can't win them all.
So I honestly think Ludwig Göransson should win for Black Panther because he went to Africa, he studied the music and the instruments, and he used particular instruments based on what they were originally used for, like in Africa, like these talking drums, which are like drums that have bands on the side that if you press the bands in and out, the drums change pitch. And he used these as there's this whole thing with him that he discusses why he used certain instrumentation in Black Panther, and it's really fascinating. And
Nice.
I was listening to a whole Marvel his score the other day, and it's really cool music. So I nominate Black Panther to win.
All right, Justin Smith was getting up on your grill on Facebook saying, wow, harsh
Yeah.
words for Mary Poppins Returns.
Who was?
Justin.
And so
Justin
is William.
Smith.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Meh. That's just how I feel.
But for a movie like Mary Poppins, you should be walking out singing those songs. But that was for the score. That was for the score.
Yeah,
okay?
the score. I
Now-
thought the words were very good in Mary Poppins, and I thought that, it was beautiful and all that stuff. But
All right, now let's go on to the score.
okay. No. Now we're talking about the song.
Yeah, song, yes.
Okay, so Mary Poppins Returns is nominated for The Place Where Lost Things Go, which, okay, yes, I am for this one because this was the heart of that film for me. So out of all the music that was in Mary Poppins Returns, this song caused me to cry. This song really touched my heart. So I think this should win over All the Stars for Black Panther. I have no idea what song that is.
Not a clue.
And other songs here from A Star Is Born or The Ballad of Buster Scruggs or RBG.
What? What are these movies? We live right next to a multiplex, and I've never heard of any of these films. No wonder the ratings for the Academy Awards are just dropping.
Mm-hmm.
They're dropping like one of those resistance bombers dropping bombs on the First Order
Right.
cruisers. That was a tough one to get out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. Okay, well.
But, all right, let's move on to production
Okay.
design.
Production design.
Once again, Mary Poppins Returns.
Oh, but wait. Justin Smith says Ballad of Buster Scruggs is a Netflix film by the Coen brothers.
Are
Wow.
you serious?
There's so many films now, it's crazy.
And there's so many different ways to see films. And we have Netflix, and I don't recall this ever coming
No.
across the new releases. And by the Coen brothers?
Yeah, we should have seen this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Someone's not doing their part in marketing.
Watch your Netflix.
We do!
We do!
We do watch Netflix! That's the problem. Why have we never heard of these?
Wasn't Bird Box on Netflix?
Yes. No, that one
we
had
watched
billboards
that.
all over Los Angeles. You couldn't miss
and
that
it's Sandra Bullock, so we're gonna watch it. But yeah.
Right. And had we not heard of so many discussions about Bird Box and people on Facebook saying, watching Bird Box, we wouldn't have known about that movie either.
Yeah. And they actually, in my workout class the other day, we were doing like some balancing thing for Pilates. And then he said, okay, now close your eyes. And I closed my eyes, and you put one foot in front of the other and you balance. And then you close your eyes, and all of a sudden you get off balance. And he was like, Bird Box. And most of us got it. I got it because I had just seen the movie.
Yeah, but had he said, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs,
I wouldn't have got it.
What? Buster
No.
who? Didn't he just leave?
Yeah.
Is he teaching the next class?
But I'm serious. Try it sometime. Stand up, put one foot directly in front of the other, and then balance, and then close your eyes. And then you watch yourself like fall over. It's crazy.
All right.
Anyway.
Okay, so production design, once again, Mary Poppins Returns.
Woohoo!
We have Black Panther.
Yay. Okay, good. So they're nominated for that.
And where's Solo? Solo's not up for production design?
No. Looks like the only ones, Black Panther and Mary Poppins Returns, are also nominated for costume design. Yay!
Okay, hold on. Where's Solo in this one? Because oh, come on! Where's Solo in costume design?
Costume design, you know who's going to win?
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs?
Mary, Queen of Scots.
Oh, it's a period piece,
Yes,
of course.
it's always the period pieces.
And I'd say Black Panther.
I'd say, yeah, that was a really awesome costume design. I love that.
Yeah. You have all of the tribe and all the warriors on Wakanda. Those costumes are beautiful.
Now, Justin Smith is giving us a preview of our next category, visual effects.
Okay, all right.
Who is finally nominated?
Solo, A Star Wars Story.
Woohoo!
And who's not going to win this?
Solo, A Star Wars Story.
No, unfortunately, no. They deserve it. They deserve it.
They do.
Or if there was a category for special effects, visual effects are all done on the computer. Special effects are done on set. So if there was a category for special effects because of that technique they used with all the screens, all the HD screens around the actors, like when they're going into hyperspace or looking out into the stars. That was all done on set. And that was beautiful.
That was cool. That means that shot with Han Solo, his first time in hyperspace,
and all
was
those
real.
Reflections on his face of the hyperspace stars streaking past.
Yeah.
All done in real time.
Yeah.
Now, Avengers Infinity War
is also nominated.
Yeah, good, but...
Good.
Did we see something that we haven't seen before?
We saw a bunch of dust.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Christopher Robin.
Okay. Now, making those characters come to life.
Yeah, I would say that would be a contender.
Yeah. First Man.
Mm-hmm. But for Christopher Robin... We've seen that before.
Yeah.
Was it something new?
Yeah, I don't think that has enough pull for it to win.
Yeah.
There's also First Man and Ready Player One.
All right,
was nominated.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Ready Player One?
I'm gonna say Ready Player One, and we've seen a lot of those effects before, but I don't think we've ever seen it to this extent.
Right.
Before.
And they had to kind of create whole new worlds, like 2 new worlds. A dystopian, futuristic Earth, and then also the whole Oasis, which is in the visual, what is that called? VR experience.
So I'm gonna say that Ready Player One.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Justin thinks so too.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, we will find out on Sunday, February 24th, when the Academy Awards airs on ABC. All right. So I have one last thing I would like to share, and that is about Zootopia. Well, it was announced on Disney Parks blog that there will be a new Zootopia-themed land coming to a Disney park. But which Disney park?
My fingers are crossed for Disneyland.
Well, it is a Disneyland, but it is Shanghai Disneyland. So when that is finished, I think a trip to Shanghai Disneyland is in order because they've got some Tangled stuff. They've got Zootopia.
But you know what? There's not enough construction going on at Disneyland here in Anaheim. So I think it should be here.
You think so?
Yeah.
Where are they going to put that? Right on top of?
Right underneath Galaxy's Edge.
Okay.
Now they need to start building into the earth.
I see. How about on top of Garden Walk over there across the street? How about that?
Hey, Garden Walk residents, clear out. We're building Zootopia Land.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
And Justin Smith says, they got the Tron coaster there, too.
So, yeah. And I think the Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
Right. Yeah. So maybe 2020, that'll be our
Well,
our vacation
Zootopia
spot.
will not be done by then. So, we'll have to wait.
Okay.
So, 2022.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, so let's hear a little bit more about the Zootopia-themed land. It will be Shanghai Disneyland's 8th themed land.
Wow, that's incredible.
I know. This place is huge. Apparently the castle is like ginormous, and it's like the size of Main Street at our Disneyland or something. It's like the biggest castle. Yeah. You'll be able to walk into Zootopia's metropolis, where anyone can be anything. And the tentpole of this land will be an e-ticket attraction that will, quote, seamlessly blend Disney storytelling and state-of-the-art technology to bring this movie and its characters to life, unquote. So get ready to see Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde in action. I'm very excited. And of course, there will also be some other entertainment, themed food.
My fingers are crossed for merchandise. Come on, merchandise.
Merchandise.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yay! So, why will they have Zootopia in Shanghai over any of the other Disney theme parks around the world?
That's my question.
Well, it's because Zootopia did extremely well globally in the box office, and especially in China, where it broke their box office records and is the #1 animated feature film in China's history.
Wow.
I know.
All right, fine. You take it.
It really spoke to them. So I guess. I don't know. So construction begins later this year, which means it won't be ready for quite some time. And there is no announced opening date. But I'm excited. And
now, before you go on with that, a question just popped in my head here. Would you rather see a land like Zootopia Land or Cars Land, or do you want to see something more like Pixar Land, where Pixar Land is focused on many, many, many movies, whereas Zootopia Land or Cars Land is just focused on one movie?
I think I would rather be focused on one movie, just so you can, it's like walking into that film. Like if you go to the Beauty and the Beast restaurant, you are walking into that ballroom where they danced and you're like, oh my God. And I'm crying like even now thinking about it. Like it's the experience of that. Like Pixar Pier, which is kind of what you're talking about. It's a mixture of different things, doesn't have that
immersiveness.
Yeah. Doesn't have that quality to it where it really, but you walk into Cars Land and you're like, holy cow, I'm in Cars. I'm in their town.
Radiator Springs.
Thank you. Radiator Springs. Especially at night when the neon lights come on.
Yeah, I get pros and cons on both sides.
Okay.
The pros for being a one movie or one show land is that that's just it. It's very immersive. When we walk into Cars Land, it is like we are walking into Radiator Springs, like we're walking into the movie, and I love that experience. Just like with Galaxy's Edge, that's going to be so exciting just knowing that you've left the real life, now you're walking into the real life, the movie life. And that is just such a spectacular escapism feeling, because you are really escaping from the real world and you're now into this other fantastic world.
Right.
And I do really appreciate that, but I would think that for Disney on a more of a financial standpoint, they would want to do something that's really stretching throughout 8 or 9 or a whole catalog of films. Like Pixar Pier, you can really go through one film to the other, to the other, to the other.
Okay.
And you can get more of a wide variety. And plus, as each new film comes out, you can always rotate films in or out of their attractions. Even for the shows, which is much easier to switch out than the attractions.
Yeah.
I think that financially, you would think they would want to go with something like that.
And a drawback, Lori Lazat is saying, if you don't like the movie, you don't go. Like, so that's also another, like, bad thing for being a one particular movie theme, which I totally get.
A very good point.
Yeah, she says she has no desire to see Avatar. And I mean, Avatar's been open since, 3-4 years now, and we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, next time I go to Disney World, I'm definitely making a point to go there, but like, it's not like, oh my gosh, I must go there when it opens.
Yeah, we won't make a special trip there.
Right.
Because of Avatar. And if Cars Land was based on Cars 2, if it was Cars 2 Land, we wouldn't go. It's Cars 2. We never liked that movie. So why visit something that you're not really caring about? Because they're going to focus on parts of the movie that, well, I don't know this movie, so I don't really care.
Right. However, now I kind of want to make a special trip to Shanghai for Zootopia. So it works both ways.
Yeah, that's why there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
But I would just say that I'd like to see other lands as well based on a whole variety of films.
Well, I think you're going to get like Superhero Land.
Well, see, there you go. If it was just one movie based on Age of Ultron,
right?
Like, okay, but you're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
Let's get the whole Avengers film franchise in here, or just call it Marvel Land, which they are doing, which I think is very smart, because now you can go to all the standalone movies. Now that Disney has bought Fox, we're gonna stretch out to the Deadpools, and you won't see Deadpool walking around. No, you won't. But the X-Men. So there's the door is always open.
Definitely. All right. So moving back to Zootopia, what would you want to see in Zootopia? Like if you walked in to this land, this themed land, what's like the first thing you'd want to see or do?
I want to see bunnies and foxes running around.
I know, wouldn't that be fun?
Oh.
Okay, so Lori says she wants to see Mouseland in Zootopia. Yeah, like the little the little city with all the little, that would be cool. And similar to that, I think one of the things I would love to see is like the evidence of all different sizes of animals. So like different size doorways and things. You know how like on the train you'd have doors for like the big elephants, the medium-sized animals, and then you'd have these tiny little doors at the bottom that would be all the like gerbils and mice and stuff. I would love to see that.
I want to see con artists walking around like Nick Fox, just trying to con people.
Oh, Nick Wilde?
Nick Wilde, yes.
Yeah. And then the animals are all different sizes, so I'd love to see the animals walking around like people dressed as giraffes on stilts or something, and then like little tiny animatronics, I guess, or something. You know what I want to have? I want one of those bars that the little lemmings eat. The pops.
Right.
The red icicle pops, paw print pops. I want one of those. Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm sure that's going to be the first food item they're going to be selling
carrots.
there.
Yeah, the popsicle. Ooh, ice cream store. Yeah, that would be fun. With giant elephant-size ice cream scoops.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I want. But I don't want elephants to scoop it with their trunks, though.
It'd be a health code violation.
Yes.
I know. All right, so lots of great stuff coming up. But right now, we're going to continue our discussion with Bryce Eller as he shares stories about posing for the iconic Darth Vader poster and appearing on TV, starting here with the 1977 Academy Awards. See how it all ties in?
Well, I mean, we'd love to go over some of your like Vader highlight moments.
Sure.
Like when you were at the 77 Academy Awards.
Yes.
And maybe tell us a little bit of what you remember from some of these moments.
Well, sure. Well, the Academy Awards was a really interesting thing. You know, I first of all, I'm there and I'm going, I don't belong here. Okay. I mean, well, no, that's okay. I mean, you know, I didn't spend years and years struggling to be an actor. All right. I didn't appear in horrible plays and do miserable stuff and wait tables and whatnot. I was in the right place, right time, took advantage of a situation. Luckily, I was able to perform, all right, to the way that was necessary, but I didn't fool myself that I belonged here with all of these people who had made show business their lives. And so I was a little nervous, waiting, and one of the issues was we'd had a rehearsal, and it was the 50th Academy Awards, so they had a flight of 50 tiny stairs to come down.
Oh.
Okay. And so the rise on the stairs was small. Okay. So it was only about this wide. Okay. And I could just see myself missing a step and going ass over tea kettle down on live television, you know, nationwide, worldwide television. There was a billion people watching. Okay. And so Susan George, who was a very, very nice lady, Susan George was there, and she was going to wear the Princess Leia costume. And she said, look, here's what we'll do. I'll hold under your arm, and you'll be escorting me down. But we'll cheat, and I'll help you down. Okay? Mm-hmm. So that's what we did. And so because you can't see anything out of that outfit, all right? You can barely see down. It was very, very hazardous. But anyway, we got to the bottom successfully. And you know, was on stage. John Malla was there, and I wisely decided not to try to step up to the microphone and talk. I thought they would not be happy with me if I did that.
But the chances there.
Well, you have to know when not to do things,
right?
And so I'll tell you about something that did work to my advantage, but when Lucasfilm didn't know about it until afterward. But that's later, or maybe earlier. I don't remember. But I'll tell you about it. So anyway, that was great. Then we went off and took pictures, and there was Natalie Wood, and you know, Natalie Wood was just wonderful, and she's beautiful, and she was so sweet, and she was. I thought she was wonderful. I thought, wow, God, if I was only older, you know, or she were younger, I'd just be after her, like, you know. But anyway, she was just a wonderful lady.
And she credits you on the air.
Yeah, she does.
As wearing the Darth Vader costume.
Yes.
This was for the award for Best Costume.
Yes.
Here is Natalie Wood.
John Mallow for Star Wars. Susan George wears his intergalactic concept. And Kermit Eller wears the Darth Vader costume.
And so she mentions you by name. That had to have been a mind-blowing moment.
Well, that was exciting. That was very exciting, and that was a wonderful experience. I enjoyed that very much. The thing I alluded to earlier was, Star Wars record. 20th Century Fox had a record label, and so 20th Century Records wanted to push the Star Wars soundtrack, and so they got a couple of guys from up in the Bay Area, and they got Darth Vader up into San Francisco. And they took me to Tower Records and took me around to different places. But one of the things they did to get publicity for these appearances is they took me to a radio program. The DJ's name was Bob McKay. It was a big drive time, morning radio show. And so they'd never told Lucasfilm that they were going to put me on air.
Oh no.
Okay. And so they sat me down in front of the microphone, and so Bob McKay started to interview Darth Vader. And so we were talking, and I'm just making up stuff off the top of my head. I don't remember what it was, but apparently it went very well. And even one thing that was funny, at one point, they were taking calls from the audience. And as you know from seeing the first film, the only color that people had was white. They shot this in England, okay, and that everybody in the film was white.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody out in Radioland said, basically, I'm going to paraphrase. He said, "Why are there no black people in Star Wars?" Okay, he said it differently, but he said that, and Bob McKay just was like, oh. And he looked at me, and I just simply said, "I'm black." And he said, "And our next caller." Okay.
Wow.
So, but anyway, when that was over, I got out, and the Lucasfilm people said, "Don't do that again." It was like, yeah, I didn't know. I mean, they just stuck me on air, and they said, I know, but we'll tell people from now on, don't do that again, because they didn't want this to go crazy. Another time, I was appearing at a department store in Los Angeles on Hollywood Boulevard. I think it was on Broadway, maybe. Anyway, it was on the corner of Hollywood and Vine at that time. And a photographer and somebody from People magazine said, "Oh, we're here from People. Lucasfilm will send us to take pictures of you." And they said, they told us it's okay for you to take off your helmet.
Oh
no. And I said, this doesn't sound right. I said, let me call Lucasfilm. No cell phones. So they had to take me into the office. And this photographer's like, I don't know, maybe she bribed somebody or whatever. Okay. And this anyway, so there I am talking on the phone in the Darth Vader costume with the helmet, trying to talk to Lucasfilm and say, "Did you authorize this?" And they're saying, "Absolutely not."
Yeah.
Okay. I said, "Okay, well, that's fine then." Okay. And I said, then, we're not doing that. But, if I was going to be a publicity hog or anything like that, I would have done that. But I did everything I could to submerge myself into being Darth Vader for people and not being Darth Vader for me. Everything was just simply to make the Darth Vader character live for people, and I did everything I could to not take advantage of that.
That is a great work ethic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not rich. But on the other hand, they didn't have any reason to get mad at me. I always had a good relationship with George. Remember right before the Academy Awards, we had some pre-award ceremony, and George walked up to me and said, "Well, Kermit, how do you think we'll do?" And I said,
"Wow."
And I said, "Well, I think we deserve to win." Okay, I think we deserve to win Best Picture, and I think we deserve to win, Best Costumes and Best Sound. We deserve it. Of course, Annie Hall won. Okay, which
hindsight is kind of silly.
I just never understood. I mean, I understand that Star Wars was not great cinema, but neither was Annie Hall. Okay, but Star Wars did bring science fiction alive. And there was one thing about Star Wars that was unlike any movie previous to that was a part of genius on George's part. Just absolute genius. The used future.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
That embedded Star Wars into having a past as well as being in the future with a past. Dirty, beat up old robots. Everything else, Day of the Earth Stood Still, Forbidden Planet, all of these shows, the future is pristine.
Mm-hmm. Star Trek?
Silver shiny.
Silver shiny. There's nothing.
Mylar.
Exactly. Nothing could be dirty. It's the future.
Yeah.
Well, Star Wars had a used, dirty future. And that's what made it gritty and real for what it could be.
Well, yeah, I think people can imagine themselves in that world much more so.
Yeah,
than some pristine, Star Trek spaceship.
But ironically enough, Disney did just buy Annie Hall and will now make it into a franchise.
Very funny. I'm not going for that.
You're very smart. Very smart.
Took a second, though. Took a second.
Yeah.
And now kids will be coming in droves to see Woody Allen at the Bradley's toy department.
But their mothers won't let him near them.
No, they won't. Whoa, but boom. Do you happen to have a recording of that radio interview you did?
Oh, no. I don't have any of that stuff.
Okay.
Oh, that would have, I don't even know if they made a record. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been, 41 years ago, something like that.
Goodness.
In San Francisco at a radio station. I don't even remember which one.
Wow.
But his name was Bob McKay. That's what I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Now, what about the Donny and Marie show? The bigger thorn in George Lucas' side more than the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Princess Leia, our goose is cooked unless we lift off of the star.
Well, that was interesting because they tried to do something sneaky. Okay, what they did was they hired a voice actor with a deep voice, and they were going to voice Darth Vader without telling Lucasfilm. Okay, and I caught wind of it. Okay, and I called Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm threatened to pull their characters from the show. Okay, if they tried to do that, if they tried to start putting funny dialogue in Darth Vader's mouth with this voiceover guy,
and the voice actor who did Darth Vader's voice was Thurl Ravencroft.
Ooh.
Yes. So anyway, that was a kerfluffle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that episode of Donny and Marie had the stars of Star Wars on it, as well as other celebrity guests, including comedian Paul Lynde. What was it like working with him?
Paul Lynde was of course, I only interacted with him briefly, all right? But I went up to him, in a friendly way to say, do you want to run any lines? And he said, just leave me alone.
Wow.
Oh, you are a king of mimicry. That's not just like him.
I know.
He was like, basically get away from me. Just leave me alone. And it was like, okay. And that was as far as it. I did my scene with him, but that was it.
You thought you'd get away. Don't you know you'll never escape from the farce?
That's the Force.
Oh, don't bother me with grammar at a time like this. Get your big ape hands off me.
You'll never capture me. and I vow by the power of my force, I shall return.
It was not pleasant, at least at that point in time. And his humor was never, it was edgy, mean humor, you know? And I kind of got the idea of that.
He was kind of
that's who you are.
Right. He was an edgy, mean person.
An edgy, mean person, and he knows how to say edgy, mean things that make people laugh like this.
It's like, I know it's funny, but I'm not sure why I'm laughing.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, and George did not like the fact that these characters were in this song and dance situation, and with Paul Lynde and Red Fox's Ben Kenobi. Even as a kid, it just didn't sit right.
You know, things are changing out here in space. I come from a distant planet called Sanford. My planet has its own moon, its own stars, and its own galaxy. But this year, Sanford has no sun.
But he had a vision for his characters. He had a vision for what he wanted to do with it. And one thing I've learned about most Hollywood writers that I've run into is if you can get a cheap laugh that's quick, let's go for it, okay? And so, you know, if you want to be able to have fun with something, then let's make it look stupid. And okay, well, I get it. But I don't think that was the smartest thing that Lucasfilm could have done, is to put him on Donny and Marie, because they had a whole different approach to it. That wasn't honoring the characters. It was trying to
poking fun at them,
poking fun of the characters. And okay, well, it may have been the wrong vehicle for Lucas to use.
We were just talking to Craig Miller, who, by the way, says hello.
Oh, yes!
Yeah, he's a good friend of ours.
Yeah, great guy. I like Craig. He's a great...
Everybody likes Craig.
Yeah, Craig's a great guy. I was sorry that when he left Lucas. You know, I thought he was a great guy.
We just did a 40th anniversary of the Star Wars Holiday Special panel at LostCon convention, and that's when he said that appearance on Donny and Marie is when George Lucas said, no more variety show appearances. That is it.
Yes. That makes sense. That would make sense. I remember standing in the elevator at Lucasfilm. By the way, when I say at Lucasfilm had many different locations, and I'll get into that in a minute. But we were in the final place in Los Angeles that was the Lucasfilm building, and Gary Kurtz was there, and Craig and I and one other person, we'd said, you know, something we just, you know, try to figure out. And we were this was prior to Empire Strikes Back. But I said, is Darth Vader Luke's father?
You said this?
I was either myself or Craig that said that. Yeah, we think that Darth Vader is Luke's father. And Gary said, absolutely not.
Wow.
Did he say that followed by a chuckle?
No, I guess I'm not sure, but we thought, wow, we really thought we had it nailed. That would make so much more sense, you know.
Yeah.
But so it was kind of a little bit telegraphed, because it was like, wow, you know, Luke and Leia, no chemistry. Maybe they're brother and sister. You know, that's another issue.
You got to put your footprints in Grauman's Chinese Theater as Darth Vader.
Right.
Anthony Daniels was there. Was Kenny Baker there?
No, that was Mick Garris.
Okay. Mick Garris, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mick Garris was running R2.
So this is like one of the biggest honors of all time.
It was a publicity stunt. Grauman's Chinese passed on Star Wars when it first came out. Okay, and they got some other thing in there, and as soon as Star Wars went, okay, just remember George Lucas screening, and then I'll tell you about it.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, so they were like, oh God, we want Star Wars in here. So as soon as they could get rid of whatever movie was in there at the time.
Annie Hall.
No, it was less memorable than that. So whatever movie was in there, then they decided to have another premiere. Okay, and they did that with putting footprints. Now the real footprints in Mann's Chinese, or Grauman's Chinese. This was Mann's Chinese at the time. Now it's whoever owns the theater.
TCL, Chinese Theater, IMAX.
Don't even ask me.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah.
But you had real stars, okay, that,
Natalie Wood.
Natalie Wood, and you had all sorts of people that were really legitimate actors and stars. Here we were, it was just to try to get people publicity for the reopening of Star Wars when it was already a big hit at Mann's Chinese. So that's what we did. But that Anthony and I had a whole bunch of dialogue that we had worked out.
Anthony Daniels?
And we had remote microphones in our masks and transmitters and everything like that, and we had speakers set up. And when we came out, the place was mobbed out and nobody could hear a thing. And he and I are doing dialogue, and nobody could hear a bit of it. Okay. Oh yeah, you would have had to have a stadium sound system for people to hear, because it was an enormous sea of people.
Hollywood, California, August 1977. A triumphant moment in screen history. To the world-famous Chinese theater come the stars of the biggest box office success in motion picture history.
R2-D2, hurry up. Everyone's waiting for you.
Thousands are gathered to see the metallic megastars place their footprints in cement in the theater's courtyard. Also to be honored this eventful day, Star Wars villain.
Oh no, it's Darth Vader. How can they do that, R2? That dreadful man putting his name right next to ours.
So we went out there, and Anthony put his footprints, and they lifted R2-D2 and set it down in there, and then picked it back up again. And I put my footprints in, and I had to sign, and Anthony and I both signed. He signed C-3PO using a stick, okay, with a ballpoint pen and a tape to it so that you could go into the concrete.
Because you can't bend down.
Can't bend down. And Darth Vader can't bend either. There's no bending in that costume. Okay, there's nowhere to go. There's a picture of me sitting in a limo on the internet, all right? And the only way I can sit is that codpiece thing, that big thing around my lower abdomen, that comes off. It's Velcro, all right? And that you could see that sitting on the seat beside me, okay? And so that's the only way I could sit. But there's no bending over. Now, Anthony came out after the crowd was gone, okay? And he signed Anthony Daniels.
Oh, really?
That was one of the things that because he actually played the character in the film.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And, and that's fine. That's legitimate. And so he did that. He came over to my house that night, and we had dinner, and that was fun. That was interesting. He had pithy things to say, which I won't repeat.
Anthony Daniels? No. I say that sarcastically.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Why, is he famous for that?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yes, he had very pithy things to. I asked him about what it was like to work with Mr. Prowse, and he had said something very pithy. And
like what?
Well, I'm not going to say, because it would be David Prowse is still alive, isn't he?
Yes,
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
So, but anyway, Anthony was outspoken gentleman. He was a nice guy, and he came out again for the Donny and Marie, okay, and he was there with Peter Mayhew, and Peter was a very nice man, okay. Peter's a very nice man, and he did his Chewbacca sounds. He could do the whatever that sound is. He did that quite well, and he'd been practicing it. He told me that he was an X-ray technician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the London hospital.
London
he was
hospital.
a porter, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And so, but he just happened to be like 7'3" or something like that. I shook hands with him, and it was like shaking hands with a package of hot dogs. Okay. Okay. He said he had size a 22 ring.
Whoa.
Okay, his hands were just enormous.
Yeah.
And I felt like a child. I'm not a small man.
No.
And I felt like a child.
Yeah, I shook hands with him once and my hand disappeared.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Where did it go?
Yeah. He was, but he was a very nice man. And that was fun.
So when they had approached you about doing this putting your footprints in the forecourt of the Chinese theater, what level was your excitement?
It was exciting. I mean, everything. I mean, going out into the Academy Awards and doing this live television. That was probably the highest my heart rate has ever been. Okay, just because of the fact that it's live, where there's no reshoots, and everything has to be right, and you want to execute perfectly and get it absolutely right. So that's very exciting. But I know I'm a human being, and I know that everybody else is a human being. And even with all of the hoopla, okay, and with expectations and whatnot, we're all still monkeys, okay? And sometimes we're in trees screaming at each other, and other times we're grooming, but we're still just people. Okay, and even big stars, they're just people. And I wanted to tell you, let me just jump back again to George and the fact that Lucas, or I should say Star Wars, was not expected to be a big hit. Okay, or at least we had hopes. But don't forget that Star Wars was over budget. Okay, it was budgeted for like $7.2 or $7.3 million, and it was over, and it wasn't finished. And Alan Ladd Jr. had to go back to the board at 20th Century Fox and pitch them for money to finish the film. Okay, and George felt like his whole life was riding on this, and William Malone told this story to me recently. He said he was at a screening with George and a bunch of Fox executives. And George was very nervous about this because George's whole career was riding on this. And this was because we were a licensee of Lucas. Mm-hmm. He said, when the end credits rolled, the executives jumped up and they were screaming and clapping.
Wow.
And he said, Bill looked at George, and George was crying.
Aww.
Okay, so that to me was like, that was a heartwarming story, because that was a dream accomplished, a hope against hope. No one thought that this was going to be the success it was. No one imagined it was going to do this.
Wow, that's amazing.
Now, do you recall the parade you had done in 1978 with Boba Fett? This is in San Anselmo, California.
Well, I also did a parade with Boba Fett, the Hollywood Christmas parade with Boba Fett.
That same year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So this was right after the Star Wars Holiday Special came out.
I guess.
This was the parade that introduced this new character from the upcoming The Empire Strikes Back Star Wars sequel. How did you feel when you saw this new Star Wars character? And how did the kids react to it?
Well, they didn't know who it was. It's one thing to see live and in person, this thing that you've seen on the screen and this menacing form, and now it's there in front of you. But this is a guy. It's neat, but there's no context.
Right. And being so deep in Star Wars at this point, what did you feel? Because I know when you saw all the original designs for Star Wars, you were really excited. So how did you feel when you saw Boba Fett, this new character?
Well, it was certainly an interesting looking. It certainly looked nasty and menacing, and I thought it was great. I hoped it a lot of success. I don't think it had that kind of success. It was a minor character in the film.
Yeah.
In fact, I was surprised in the film how minor it was, so to speak.
Have you seen the YouTube footage of that San Anselmo parade?
No.
All right, Shamim had sent it to me, so I'll have to send it to you.
Okay.
I was just amazed that someone had the foresight of recording this. And here's the two of you walking in the parade, the two of you signing autographs.
Yeah. I'm glad somebody recorded it. I mean, there's plenty of other stuff that nobody recorded.
Yeah, that iPhone generation was just 30 years too late.
Yeah.
So now we'd like to hear about the iconic Darth Vader poster photo shoot. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. It was in a photo studio on Fairfax Avenue. And
right in the heart of Hollywood.
Yes, in the heart of Hollywood, yes. And it was a big empty photo studio. So I turned up there, did a photo shoot, and they had me standing. They unrolled a big roll of white paper and it draped down the back and then came on the floor. So they had me on the white paper and they were blowing fans to try to open up the cape because the cape just had a tendency to close around you. And so they had me, they had a vision of what they wanted to do. They wanted to have a lightsaber in the hand. So I held my hand out. It was empty. There's no lightsaber. But I had my hand curled as if it had a lightsaber in it. And so I held my arms somewhat out, and they had me rock back and forth to make the cape flare. And then I would freeze, and they would take the shot, and we did that ad nauseum over and over and over again. We took other shots and shots, but the one they selected was one that they then passed on to Ralph McQuarrie, and he was the one that did all of the pre-production art for Star Wars, and he ended up painting a lightsaber handle in my hand and a lightsaber blade out, and he painted the backdrop, which was all of this blue and grayish, swirls and whatnot, and twin suns. That was all airbrushed or painted in. Along with the reflections off the suit. That was all done by Ralph. Wow. Quite an artist.
Wait, you weren't standing with twin suns somewhere?
No, my TIE fighter was broken.
So there was no location shooting that day.
No. The thermistors were broken on the, and the flux inverter had needed to be rewound.
Did they tell you what you were shooting for? And did they say this poster, this image is going to be on everything from T-shirts to bed sheets to posters to necklaces to everything?
Nope. They just were doing a photo shoot. And doing a photo shoot. And, I did that, showed up, did a photo shoot. It was just another gig.
So what did you think when you saw that image everywhere?
Well, it was like, wow, that's really amazing that I have a little piece of touching this many people in the world. Okay, that even though it's not my face, that still, as you can see on the left eye, you can see a little tiny corner of my real eye in the lens. If you look carefully, you can still see me. There's a little bit of Kermit in there, but no, just the fact that I could be part of that and have this effect on so many mostly young men in the world, but there were some young women too. It's touching in a way.
Did David Prowse ever reach out to you, or did you ever meet him? And
I ran into him once at the Egg Building.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was there for something. He wasn't in costume or anything, but he stepped out of a limo and he came into the Egg Building. I don't know if we shook hands. I don't recall if we shook hands or not, but I remember looking at him and saying, "He's my height." It was because I remember he said he was 6'7" in in a lot of the publicity stuff.
Yeah.
All right, but he was my height.
Which is 6'5"?
6'5",
right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And he knew who you were. And
I don't know. Probably. He might have.
Thought maybe he would have given you some notes, or you would have given him some notes.
No.
Like on The Empire Strikes Back, you need to do more cape flourishes.
No. It No, it was, that's what the directors are for.
Right.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
All right, I got one more question about your live appearances. When we had talked on the phone a couple of weeks ago, you had said that Rick Baker had made a stormtrooper in a Chewbacca outfit to go out on publicity tours.
And Darth Vader costumes for Toys R Us. Okay, so Toys R Us. So there was quite a competition between the licensees for Darth Vader appearances. When you said that there were shoes, Clark's of England, made Star Wars shoes, which boggles my mind to this day. But they had Star Wars shoes, and so I was doing appearances for them. Texas Instruments wanted appearances, and I did some for them. Toys R Us, with Star Wars toys and all sorts of things, they wanted a ton of appearances, and there was no way that Lucasfilm was going to give me to them to do appearances everywhere in the country. And so their demand was such that what they decided to do was to build some touring costumes, and they didn't look like screen costumes at all.
No, I saw one of them.
No, they're not. No. They don't know, but they were puffy. The Darth Vader costumes were puffy looking, and I remember looking at them and thinking, but anyway, they were, whatever. So what they did was they shipped the costumes from Toys R Us to Toys R Us location, and they just had employees put on the costume and march up and down the aisles. They had the fans up and down the aisles, and they just walked up and down the aisles and up and down the aisles. That's all they did. Okay, and so that's what it was. The Chewbacca and Stormtrooper and Vader, and you had Vaders that were like 5'9", 5'10", kind of thing, and it was like, I suppose.
Now, I'm sure Rick Baker had to go through the Lucasfilm, and
it was Lucas. It was Lucasfilm endorsed. It was Lucasfilm endorsed. Yeah. No, this was a deal that had been made, and he was contracted to make these.
So toward the end, was there just so much demand that they had to have other Vaders go on out, and you couldn't be everywhere? And
they didn't have any other real suits.
Right.
Okay, they had talked to me about having other Darth Vaders, but there was one guy that they had go out with me on tour to see what I did, and he was a guy, and he was a nice guy. He was did a lot of screen extra stuff. He did a lot of stuff as a Cylon in Battlestar Galactica, the original one with with Cylons as metal people, and so he did a lot of that stuff. And there was another guy, the guy that played Boba Fett in the Christmas parade. He wanted to do Darth Vader. I think his name began with a P, but I remember that the guy that did the Christmas parade, he was doing Boba Fett, and he wanted to do Boba Fett in the film, and in England, and in fact, I was told at one point that Lucas was considering me having me do Empire, but
really,
but the problem, but you can't do it. All right, and the problem was that Lucas's friend couldn't do Boba Fett either, because they're not English. I'm not English. All right, you could make a case that if you could see somebody's face, that you had to have that actor. All right, but if it's just somebody in a costume, in England there's a union called Equity, and Equity says if there's an Englishman that can do it and you're not seeing his face, you hire an Englishman.
Wow.
All right, and so that put paid to that, as they would say. So that guy ended up doing, because he was a friend of George's, and he wanted to do Darth Vader. So they let him do some Darth Vader appearances, but the licensees went up in arms. All right, and we're not happy because he didn't play Darth Vader. He wore a Darth Vader costume. Okay, so it was, "Hi, honey, do you want to take a picture with me?"
Oh, my. You don't want to hear Darth Vader saying that.
Yeah. So he wasn't Darth Vader. He was a guy wearing a Darth Vader costume.
Right.
And so the licensees said, "We want Kermit."
And smartly so.
And so that was the end of that. So I continued on for years.
Nice.
Wow. Now, after all was said and done, how do you recall your Darth Vader 5-year experience?
Well, it was a wonderful time in my life. It was, for a long time, I kept it a secret. Okay. I didn't tell anybody about it. Maybe a close friend or two, but I never wanted to be, didn't you used to be somebody? I never wanted to be that guy. I wanted to do something with my life, that was my own and not something that I used to be. So I didn't want to be this guy that went to conventions and, signed autographs for $10 a piece or anything like that. So I actually went to a place called the Career Counseling Center. I had started working selling hi-fi equipment, but I wasn't happy doing that. I was working for a place called Rogers Sound Labs in Los Angeles selling stereo and video equipment. And it was okay, but I wasn't happy. So I went to the Career Counseling Center, and I took a bunch of tests, a whole battery, about 24 hours worth of testing, to find out what am I really suited for. And the tests were mathematical reasoning, foreign language ability, legal ability, manual dexterity, tool use, all kinds of different tests. And it was kind of exhaustive. It was over several days. When they got done, they came back with a list of career opportunities or career professions. One was social ecologist. Another one was systems analyst. And so I said, well, don't you need to have mathematical ability? And they said, you have mathematical ability. You tested higher than our test could measure. Okay.
Whoa.
Wow.
So your symbolic reasoning is at the top of our test, and our test, and our average norm is IBM entry-level trainees, and those are here, and you were there. So these are the things that you need to do. So I decided to go back to college. I got a degree in computer science and heavy in math. And then I went and started working for the defense industry, and I started working on secret projects for the military, for the Marine Corps,
wow,
and for the Navy and for the Air Force. And I did that for a few years. And then I went to work for a company called Sun Microsystems that was not secret. And then I worked for Sun Microsystems for years, and then left that and worked at a couple of other small places, and then worked for a place called Trace 3, and have been there for the last 14 or 15 years as a systems engineer and delivery engineer working on storage systems. So the Darth Vader thing was a wonderful set of experiences, but I hope that I am more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Well,
yeah, considering what you just told us about.
Yeah.
Definitely. And plus, the fact that you've made such a huge impact on so many children's childhood.
Well, and I'm hoping and I'm glad it was a positive one, and I hope that I've brought many fond memories to people, and that I was a positive influence in as many people's lives as possible.
And I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate my 50th birthday than going back to my childhood.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Wow.
I couldn't ask for anything more. Well,
Perfect.
thank you for this. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Shout-outs, Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout-out. was photobombed. Shout out who was shared a post. Shout out post.
So our first shout out goes to Rachel Crouch, who wrote this on Facebook regarding the Bryce Eller episode part 1. This episode was probably my favorite skywalking episode ever. It was so great to hear his stories. By the end of the episode, I was crying because of what he shared about the little girl, and the children at the hospital was so moving. Thank you all for this awesome piece of Star Wars history. Exclusive here on Skywalking Through Neverland.
Aw, thank you, Rachel, and we love it that you reached out to us. Thank you so much, and we love to hear how these episodes touch your lives, Skywalker. So please send us a message. Let us know on social media or wherever. You can even send an email to share@skywalkingthroughneverland.
Let's put this out there too. Who else in the early days of Star Wars or Disney fandom do you want to hear from?
Oh.
We really want to get into how fandom started for you. How did fandom, like Bryce Eller, really started my fandom for Darth Vader?
Okay.
Because he was everywhere, and I love that Darth Vader image. So I think I fell in love with the character of Darth Vader through Bryce Eller. So, Skywalkers, who do you want to hear from? Who really made an impact on your childhood that you think would really make an impact on other Skywalkers as well?
Oh, cool.
Definitely want to hear that.
All right, well, our next shout out comes from Twitter. Richard, who is this person on Twitter?
Well, this person is Peter Tork.
Now, for those of you who don't know, who is Peter Tork?
Peter Tork is a member of the Monkees.
So one of your childhood heroes again.
Yes. And this shout out goes to Peter Tork. How often can I say that?
Well, what did he do?
Well, all right. Well, this came about because of the passing of James Frawley, who was one of the Monkees directors who we've had on the show. And Peter Tork wrote a bonus hashtag Throwback Thursday in tribute to the life of James Frawley, who passed away. He had a brilliant and varied career. Here is a wonderful interview from 2016 posted by Skywalking Through Neverland on YouTube.
Wow.
We are so grateful to them for sharing this interesting window to the talented world of this amazing soul.
Wow.
What?
I know.
What? Now, I'm very sad that we heard about the passing of James Frawley.
Yeah.
But to know that Peter Tork listened to our interview.
Yeah, and then is sharing it like that. That was a crazy notification we got. We're like, oh my goodness. And he shared on, I think, Facebook and Twitter as well. So it was like, wow.
So that's like the circle is now complete.
Mm-hmm.
Where I've spent my lifetime admiring his work.
Yeah.
And now he's admiring our work.
Aww.
Oh my goodness.
And it's great to listen back to that interview that we did with James Frawley. I mean, what a funny guy.
Yeah.
And just amazing.
And just to talk to someone who really shaped my childhood.
Yes.
And I still use the techniques he taught the Monkees when we do our live shows. A lot of that was the inspiration from James Frawley.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an unbelievable discussion, but it was very, very sad to hear about his passing.
Yes.
Come and watch, sing and play. We're the young generation, and we've got something to say.
All right, well, that wraps up episode 237 of
Skywalking Through Neverland. We'd like to thank Bryce Eller for sharing all of his amazing stories last week about his live appearances and how he affected me at the Bradley's department store when I saw him, and this week telling us all about the Academy Awards he was on and Donny and Marie and all of his great stories that I've been waiting many, many decades to hear.
We'd also like to thank all of you Skywalkers, and especially those who got to tune in live on Facebook. You guys were super active today, and we loved it. Your comments really helped us flesh out our whole show, so thank you so much, Skywalkers. And you can follow us actually on Facebook. The Skywalking Through Neverland Facebook page is where we post our live show so that you guys can join in.
Now, next week, we have another great episode where we speak with Bruce Vilanch. Now, he was a writer on the Academy Awards, on the Star Wars Holiday Special, and he shares so many great stories about behind the curtain of all these shows he's worked on.
Yeah.
And doing research into this discussion with him, I heard stories I hadn't seen or read or heard anywhere else.
Yeah.
So Bruce was also on our very short list of guests I wanted on Skywalking Through Neverland, and we got him. Score!
All right, Skywalkers. Well, if you would like more Skywalking Through Neverland in your life, please check out skywalkingforce.com. That's where we plus up our content and offer extras just for you, including extra episodes, so you can become a part of the Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com. You can also support us in a different way. Just share the show with a friend. We would love that. Have them click subscribe. It's amazing. You can also head to our website, skywalkingthroughneverland.com, and click on the links to Pozu Shoes, Oppo Suits, or T Public. And just as a note, Pozu Shoes is having like an up to 70% off sale right now. I think they're trying to get rid of stock, so they're getting new stock. But that's when I swoop in and grab their like Ray boots and stuff.
Yeah, they are clearing the shelves for their new Episode 9 releases.
I think, yeah, probably. Lots of Star Wars. Woohoo! We also have our YouTube channel. You can subscribe at youtube.com/skywalkingthroughneverland.
And we have some exclusive Bryce Eller content on there.
Yeah. And including, we actually have an exclusive Bryce Eller, a little video for the Skywalking Force as well. So
yeah, because like we had mentioned last week when we had shut off the recorder, he just kept on telling stories.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hold on. Let us get this.
It's like we turned on the faucet and just let him run. It's like once he started, it didn't stop. It was great.
Become part of that Skywalking Force, and you can hear more exclusive content coming up in the future. Now, Sarah, if the Skywalkers want to reach out on social media, where do they go? What do they do?
We are at Skywalking Pod for Twitter and Instagram. We also have our Facebook group, which is awesome. You can search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland group. You can answer the questions that pop up, and then we will let you in. And you can email us, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Make sure to email us, like, who would you like to hear from? Who would you like us to interview? We could always use your ideas.
Lori Lazat had mentioned Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford.
Okay.
Done.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get Harrison Ford for Sarah because we got Bryce Eller. Now we get to get Harrison Ford for you.
Oh my gosh. That picture that was on my wall.
Awesome.
Growing up.
Awesome.
Wow.
And we want to remind everyone to please go over there to Apple Podcasts and Stitcher, and we would love to hear what you have in your reviews. Mm-hmm. So we would like some more reviews. Hey, should we do a contest for reviews?
You know what? We've got some pops over there. Solo.
Okay, how about a new contest?
Okay.
So how about whoever writes a review in the next, 3 weeks? We put all the new reviews in a pile.
Okay.
And you will win. We got a closet right over here full of stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? You can even, if you've already written a review, how about they can update their review? Because actually newer reviews populate to the top. So if you have updated your review, send us an email too that you've reviewed it. Okay, just so we have a clear picture. So you can send us an email, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com to do that.
And we will send you a box of goodies. We've got a closet of goodies we'd love to give to you guys and girls.
I think we have a Chewie mask. We have some Funko Pops from Solo.
We got lots of stuff.
We got lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Hold on, I have to see what Lori says. Oh, and then Lori wants to see that Harrison Ford. She wants to see this live because she wants to see me turn red.
So you want to see Sarah become Twitter-pated.
That's right. Oh, bringing it back around.
There you go.
Nice.
All right, Skywalkers. Well, should we do a post about that as well?
Yeah, we will.
Okay,
we'll do a post.
We'll do that.
About the contest?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
we'll do that.
All right, now stay tuned for bloopers and other fun conversation bits after the credits. And
always remember,
Neverland on Alderaan.
our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant, Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor, Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators, Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.
It's an awesome month, but what I'm saying is, just in terms of timeline, January is more of a chill month. So when you leave January, it's like, now it's like the ball starts rolling, the snowball starts rolling. January is like it's not a downhill month, it's a stable month. I don't know how to describe it.
Okay.
But does that make sense?
Not at all. Not at all.
You know, the buildings was so funny because Lucasfilm started off in this little 426A at the top of an old Victorian mansion. And as soon as Star Wars began to take off, which nobody thought it was going to happen, nobody knew. All right, it was a wonderful surprise, and I have another story for you about that, but let me finish this. So they needed more space, so they went and they rented like a dentist office, okay, on Riverside Drive. And it was like, hey, we need you to run over to the dentist's office. Okay. Why? My teeth? Something wrong with my teeth?
Yeah.
No. We got an office over there. Oh, we need you to run over to the motel. Okay. Oh, there was a motel. They rented some office. They rented some motel rooms, and they used it for office space in a motel on Lancashire Boulevard. And then there was another place that they had. And then they said, we need you to go to the Egg Building. And it's like, the Egg Building? And it's like, there was Olson Farms had bought a motel that was right on the freeway entrance on Lancashire. And so they bought the whole building. They were going to make that Lucasfilm. So what they ended up doing was they ended up knocking that down and putting in trailers all over the place. So Lucasfilm, everybody lived in trailers in Lucasfilm. Okay, and that's where all of the work was done. Dozens of trailers. And you would have to step from trailer to trailer to find somebody. And eventually they built this building up to be a beautiful thing. It was a really nice place, and it had a brass plaque on it that said the Egg Building. Okay? And it was really nice. And that's when I played Asteroids there with Steven Spielberg.
Wow.
When he was waiting to talk to George about Indiana Jones. Yeah. So he and I were in this area. I was waiting to talk to somebody, and he was waiting to talk to George, and he and I were playing Asteroids together. And I decided, I'm not going to ask about 1942.
1941?
Or 1941. Was that what it was called?
It was.
1941. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The music was the best thing to come out of that one.
Well, I saw it in the theater. I saw it in the theater, and I went, huh.
Well, the big question here is, who won Asteroids?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I wasn't that competitive. I was fine with him winning. I thought, well, you did Jaws. That's good. So anyway, that was the Egg Building, and then now it's a parking lot for
the bus station
for the subway station.
Yeah,
right there by Universal.
Yeah, right past
Universal.
Wow.
It's a parking lot for the subway station.
Yeah.
Yep. Subway stop. So that little piece of history is lost.
I'm so glad that when I was working in the film business, while I was driving by there, it's like, that's the Egg Building I've heard so much about. I'm going to go in there. And there was no security. I'm walking all around and looking at all the architecture that Harrison Ford had worked on. And this is where George Lucas's office was.
I mean, yeah, that was a very, very, very different time. In fact, one time we were in a meeting there, and one, don't remember what his name was, but he was one of the executives, and his car alarm started going off on his Porsche. And I said, well, let's go down and take a look at it. He goes, yeah, I got Darth Vader with me. Let's go down and take a look. So we went down to make sure that nobody was breaking into his Porsche. Nowadays it'd be like, send a boy, down to take a look at the Porsche. But, we just ran down there to look. But I forget what I was going to talk about. Ask another question. Maybe it'll pop back in. it was funny. Years later, before that, I had done a Special Olympics. The Lucasfilm sent me to Stowe, Vermont in the middle of winter, to be Darth Vader at the Special Olympics.
Oh, wow.
And I went with, I think, Dorothy Hamill and Susan St. James and Dick Sargent, and a few other people too, but whose names I don't recall. But a couple of things about that was really interesting. But one of the things was we went out and had dinner with Ted Kennedy at a Vermont, because apparently he had a close friendship with Susan St. James at the time. At least that was my understanding. But they were friends, so we all went out and had dinner. But I hung out with Dick Sargent and we talked and did whatnot. And I met him again years later.
Ted Kennedy?
No, Dick Sargent.
Oh, Dick Sargent.
Yes, yeah, Dick Sargent. All right, I was working at a place called Rogers Sound Labs, and I was selling hi-fi equipment. And he came in and bought a stereo, and I took it out and I set it up for him and whatnot. And we were talking, and I told him that you remember. He said, "I remember." Yeah, and we talked, and another thing too is he and I both went out for the same voiceover job. We were both competing against one another for a voiceover job. I met him in the lobby, and neither one of us got the gig. Okay, and so what
was the job?
I don't know, commercial.
Right.
So it was just like we're just all people.
It does. Why do you get this Jerry Seinfeld like thing?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. I don't know what it is. It's this timbre to your voice.
Did anyone record, well, I'm sure no, but that first American Booksellers Convention back before Star Wars came out?
With what?
But Gary Kurtz always had a camera around his neck.
He wasn't there.
Oh, I thought Gary Kurtz was there. He and Charles Lippincott.
No, just Charlie.
Okay.
Charlie was the only one that was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where were the iPhones back then?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.